Hello and welcome to AutoEV and another one of our car reviews. This episode we cover the new 2020 Hyundai IONIQ Electric. Hyundai launched its Toyota Prius rival back at the 2016 Geneva Motor Show for Europe. But unlike its Japanese rival, it came with three different powertrain options, either a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid or a full electric car. 3 years later we have some revisions to the car in a midlife facelift. Styling changes and interior changes, but importantly drivetrain changes. So is it still competitive in the face of much newer and, dare I suggest, cheaper competition? This 5-door family hatchback follows a very similar principle to the Prius and previous Honda Insight. With its tapering rear hatch, it's safe, neat and predictable, if a bit forgetful. Although a rather glaring blight on its rather dull visage is this horrible big plastic area here rather than a standard grille like the hybrid variants have. Now there's no engine to cool in the electric car, but even so, perhaps a fake grille would have been more preferable than this large silver area of plastic. That being said, I still prefer the car over the rather ugly Toyota Prius. For 2020, the battery size is increased from a 28 kWh to a 38 kWh, giving this new IONIQ an official range of 194 miles. Realistically, this is probably closer to the 150 mile mark given the outside temperature we're experiencing at the moment, and with heating on and a few other ancillaries. Hyundai say that you should be able to charge the car from flat to around 80% in just over the hour from a 50 kilowatt or fast charger such as the CCS ones you find in most petrol stations these days. From zero to full overnight from say a 7 kilowatt home box should take around 6 hours. This battery performance is however a little bit disappointing given what's available not just from the competition but from within Hyundai itself, with its Kona Electric offering a range of round about 300 miles. It may not be long before the IONIQ Electric is actually left trailing in the face of this newer competition. So for 2020, Hyundai have completely redesigned the interior of the IONIQ, and it's not a bad place. It's got one of these infernal stuck-on screens that I really don't like, but it does look quite neat below that with the backlit buttons, albeit one little thing I have noticed. They're touch sensitive, which is fine, but there's no feedback from them, so you're never really quite sure whether or not you've pressed the button, and that usually requires a second glance off the road. Maybe some kind of haptic feedback would have been better. Whilst the styling's quite nice, I have to say the fit and finish of some of the materials does disappoint. This isn't really soft touch, it's quite kind of flimsy plastic, and there's a lot of sort of like hard plastic areas round about the car, a bit scratchy. The leather as well definitely does disappoint when you look in comparison with something like the Kia Niro, which is a much nicer quality leather. But the equipment level is high. You get things on this premium SE such as ventilated front seats, you get a heated steering wheel, you get heated front and rear seats, electric seats, Bluetooth streaming, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and obviously the safety features such as the lane keep assist and autonomous braking. The other thing I also like is you get wireless charging for your mobile down in there, and the lack of obviously a transmission lever because it's the full electric car does give plenty of storage. We've got two big cup holders here, a nice bit of storage down here, another bit of armrest underneath here for storage, and some big door bins. So a well thought out interior, just really lacking in the fit and finish area. The instrument binnacle itself is quite nice, plenty of information on display, and you do get the multifunction steering wheel so you can scroll through the menus easily. You will have noticed, however, there's paddles behind the steering wheel here. This isn't for the gears, this is to adjust your regenerative braking, which is quite nice actually once you get used to it. Being up there, it's quite easy to adjust. The one thing I don't like about it, however, is some of these systems, once you've turned them off or adjusted them, if you stop the car and get back in, they default back to the standard thing. I'd really like something to stay off when I switch it off. You can go into the sub menu, of course, on the screen and completely turn it off, but why does it need to be a two-stage process? Why can't a button just turn something on and off? There we go. Otherwise, not a bad place to be. It's a bit of an odd size, the IONIQ. It's not really a conventional Ford Focus Golf-sized car. It's slightly bigger, but then it's not quite as big as something like a Mondeo or a Passat. I suppose something like the Skoda Octavia is round about the closest rival. It's roomy enough. I mean, I'm not particularly tall, but the seat's set up for my driving position, and I can sit here and I've got nice knee room. There's plenty of foot room. Although I will say taller people might suffer from this sloping roofline, although it's fine for me. You get rear ISOFIX points in the back, and there is room for 3 across. Although rather surprisingly on the electric car, there is still a transmission tunnel here. It doesn't have the flat floor like some of the rivals do. One thing I definitely do not like about the car, however, is this split across the rear screen, and why they persist on it, I'll never know. The top half of the screen is very difficult to see out of, and the lower half, below the split, is so small it gets covered with road grime, and of course it's not serviced by a washer or a wiper. Not a great design feature, and something I'd like to see get rid of on the next model. In order to accommodate the bigger battery pack, Hyundai have fitted the IONIQ Electric with a torsion beam rear suspension setup rather than the multi-link system of the hybrids, and that unfortunately is noticeable. The ride is a little bit more jittery, a little bit more fidgety over bumps, and it just lacks the sophistication of the more modern sort of the multi-link setup. It's a real shame, and I know this car isn't a car you're going to be hustling down a back B road, but still it just interrupts the ride quality, and as I say, the hybrids just deal with it much better. There are 2 trim levels available, the Premium and this, the Premium SE. The lower car comes in at just under the £30,000 mark, with the SE model starting at £31,500. Now this includes the £2,500 government grant that's currently available for electric car users. Both trim levels are very competitively specified, with the SE gaining things like full leather interior, heated and ventilated seats, and both cars come with a raft of safety features such as blind spot indicator, lane keep assist and emergency autonomous braking. All of that being said, at this £30,000 price bracket, again, newer competition coming into the market at this does offer greater range and, dare I suggest, a better driving experience. So, what competition is out there for the Hyundai IONIQ that you might also consider? Well, as I said, there's the Toyota Prius, but the Prius does not come as a full electric car, it's hybrid only. Though there are obviously other alternatives coming onto the market in 2020, such as the Volkswagen ID.3, Volkswagen's very own golf-sized 5-door electric car. Going smaller, there's also things like the Peugeot E208 and the Vauxhall Corsa E. But slightly more expensive, and from within its own range, Hyundai offer the e-Kona. Now that's one of these small crossover style SUV cars. And the only reason that you might consider something like the IONIQ over that is if you're not a big fan of that style of car. But it does offer a greater range, albeit at a slightly more expensive price. So here's what we like about the 2020 Hyundai IONIQ Electric. The build quality, even if some of the materials used disappoint. Hyundai's reputation for reliability and excellent warranty package. Its standard equipment level. And the realistic and achievable range prediction. Here's what we don't like. The styling is a little bit too safe and predictable, and that awful plastic front end has to go. The competition, even from within its own company and sister brand, does things much better. And the highish price in comparison with better, longer range rivals. So, is the IONIQ Electric worthy of consideration? Well, it is a very nice car. There is a lot to recommend it. However, rather strangely, I find myself being drawn more towards the hybrid variants, as the full electric car doesn't offer the range, nor the charging capability, or the driving experience of other cars around about this price bracket. Hyundai's issue doesn't so much come in the face of competition from external sources, but even from within its own brand, with the Kona Electric, admittedly at a little bit more money, but it does offer a much better proposition for the electric car. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you like what you see, please remember to like the videos and subscribe to make sure that you get a notification of when the next ones are uploaded. See you soon.